Esse número tem coisas muito interessantes, como uma matéria da jornalista do Hit Harazin sobre a comparação entre como dois fotógrafos, como Dorothea Land e Ansel Adam, dois fotógrafos americanos, registraram o encarceramento dos japoneses durante a guerra nos Estados Unidos. Tem uma matéria com uma fotógrafa, que é a capa da revista, que é a Viviane Sassi, uma fotógrafa holandesa, muito destacada no cenário contemporâneo. Enfim, tem um artigo maravilhoso escrito por um fotógrafo também. Isso é uma preocupação, acho, da revista, de fazer com que a gente leia artigos escritos por fotógrafos, né, com que os próprios produtores de imagem que discursam bem também possam apresentar suas razões. Tem um artigo clássico escrito pelo fotógrafo japonês Takuma Nakahira sobre o fotógrafo William Klein, que eu acho que se conecta muito aqui com a exposição do Robert Frank que a gente está vendo, e outras matérias e artigos. O festival tem 3 dias, vai de hoje até domingo. A gente tentou criar uma programação bastante diversa, na verdade o mais diversa possível, para mostrar um pouco a amplitude do campo fotográfico, né? A gente tem como convidados desde coletivos jornalísticos até artistas que usam a imagem, fotógrafos, artistas que se apropriam de imagem, artistas que usam imagens como fotografias como base de suas pinturas, até também uma nova produção e a produção mais consagrada, né? Boa parte das mesas tem como tônica o fato de você ter um artista já bastante consagrado, que produziu em algum momento histórico, e um artista jovem, um fotógrafo jovem, dialogando com ele para a gente pensar um pouco também como várias das questões propostas pela fotografia e pela imagem são retomadas ao longo dos anos, né? A gente tentou também, na programação do festival, conectar certos temas da pauta contemporânea, assim, atual, quente, né, inclusive do noticiário. Então, tem mesas que discutem as questões femininas, tem mesas sobre performance, sobre a nudez e a exposição do corpo, tem uma mesa sobre a presença de cineastas negros na produção audiovisual. Enfim, acho que uma programação bastante variada. Ela começa hoje, às 11 horas, agora, com uma pequena cerimônia aqui em homenagem ao Gerhard Steidl, um dos editores, talvez o editor de livro mais importante do mundo, né? Hoje tem um dia todo dedicado à produção de livros, um pouco também porque se tornou uma produção central para entender a fotografia contemporânea. Eu acho que é no campo dos livros, assim, dos fanzines até os coffee tables, que está a produção mais efervescente, mais quente, mais discutida. Então, o dia inteiro hoje é dedicado a essa programação. O Steidl vai dar uma palestra aqui logo depois sobre a beleza do mundo analógico e impresso material, em contraposição ao mundo digital. Ele depois, às 14h, fala também na biblioteca sobre a produção de livros que ele tocou e vem tocando na Steidl, que é a editora dele. Um pouco sobre a experiência dessa produção, como editor, né, tocando essa produção e trazendo e fazendo um trabalho importantíssimo de resgate e de consolidação de nomes fundamentais da fotografia internacional. E depois, à tarde, tem uma outra roda de conversa com os editores e autores dos livros que a gente selecionou para a convocatória de fotolivros do festival. A gente fez uma chamada aberta, junto com a biblioteca aqui do IMS, para que pessoas do Brasil inteiro e até de outras partes do mundo mandassem seus livros, e fizemos uma seleção, uma amostragem para mostrar o vigor dessa produção, e esses editores foram convidados também a vir aqui e conversar um pouco sobre esses livros. Amanhã a gente tem também coisas bem interessantes. Logo de manhã tem a projeção do filme Como Fazer um Livro com Steidl. É um documentário às 11 da manhã. À tarde tem 3 mesas de debates. As mesas vão ser abertas pelo cineasta George Bodansky, que vai projetar pequenos trailers dos Super 8s que ele produziu ao longo de muitos anos, mas especialmente dos anos 70, quando estava pesquisando e explorando a região da Amazônia para fazer o filme mais conhecido dele, que é o Iracema, uma transamazônica. Ele vai abrir cada mesa com uma projeçãozinha comentada desses filmes. É um material que estava guardado há muitos anos e que o Instituto agora digitalizou e vai ter o prazer de mostrar em pequenos pedaços nas mesas. Depois a gente tem 3 mesas, uma mesa sobre fotografia, história e livros, com o André Penteado e com o suíço Ian Gross, que vem discutindo a história do Brasil através de imagens. Temos uma mesa sobre performance e feminismo e a produção política também das mulheres, com a artista Anabela Geiger e a artista Berna Reale. E, no fim da noite, temos também uma mesa com o escritor Teju Cole, que é um escritor americano bastante importante, reconhecido, que vem se destacando como uma das grandes vozes que tem escrito sobre fotografia, né? Ele tem uma coluna no New York Times, boa parte das colunas dele é dedicada à fotografia contemporânea. Ele vai dar uma palestra aqui sobre um fotógrafo que é o fotógrafo de cabeceira dele, um dos fotógrafos que ele mais gosta, que é o Luigi Ghiri, um fotógrafo italiano, que o Instituto também apresentou aqui há alguns anos numa exposição muito interessante. E no domingo, o festival continua com, de manhã, às 11 da manhã, às 10h30 da manhã, uma oficina com o coletivo Mídia Ninja, sobre mídia ativismo. Eles vão falar da experiência deles e também ensinar um pouco como se faz live streaming, como é que você transmite as questões que são importantes para você visualmente nas redes sociais. À tarde, a gente tem, de novo, 3 palestras, uma sobre arte e apropriação de imagens, né? Fotografia, como é que a arte se apropria da fotografia para fazer uma reflexão, com o artista Antônio Manuel, artista português, e com o artista paraense Edro Oliveira. Depois, às 14 horas, a gente tem uma mesa que parece que vai ser muito interessantíssima sobre cinema, com a cineasta Adélia Sampaio, considerada a primeira cineasta negra a produzir um longa-metragem. Ela vai mostrar trechos dos filmes e contar um pouco da história do filme, dos problemas de censura também que o filme sofreu, porque é um filme bastante avançado, digamos, para a época, junto com a jovem Yasmin Tainá, que é uma moça de Nova Friburgo, do Rio de Janeiro, que desenvolveu uma plataforma para divulgar o cinema negro. E o dia termina com uma mesa homenagem à grande fotógrafa brasileira Cláudia Andujar, que vai apresentar um pouco da produção dela anterior aos Yanomami, né, que é o trabalho mais conhecido que ela fez, o trabalho dos Yanomami. Ela eu vou conversar com ela, mas ela vai basicamente apresentar a produção fotográfica dela desde a chegada dela no Brasil nos anos 50 até ela começar a se envolver com os índios. Então, essa é um pouco, em resumo, a programação aqui do festival. Eu queria agradecer muito também aos parceiros do festival, à Folha de São Paulo, ao Provécia e ao Instituto Goethe, que nos ajudaram aqui de maneiras variadas a colocar de pé o festival. Queria agradecer muito também à turma daqui do Instituto, que ralou bastante nesses últimos dias para conseguir organizar essa programação intensa e bastante variada. E, então, convidar aqui o Miguel, que é o curador da Biblioteca de Fotografia do Instituto, e o Sérgio, curador de fotografia, para a gente dar continuidade aos eventos. Então, muito obrigado a todos e bom festival aí para todo mundo.
Bom dia. Eu sou, como o Thiago falou, sou curador aqui da Biblioteca de Fotografia do MS Paulista, que é um passo a mais que o Instituto Moreira Salles deu nesse sentido de ser uma referência para a fotografia no Brasil, no mundo. Então, ela é uma iniciativa, a primeira biblioteca especializada em fotografia no Brasil, e tem capacidade para até 30 mil itens. É pública, aberta, livre, as pessoas podem ir tirar livro direto da estante. Então, desde já fica o convite para todos, depois descerem aqui, o primeiro andar aqui do MS Paulista, conhecerem, se apropriarem da biblioteca. É um acervo que tem obras gerais e coleções especiais de nomes como Stefania Abril, Thomas Farkas, Yatan Canabrava e Ricardo Mendes, e, como a gente está celebrando agora, a coleção Steidl, que é um conjunto muito importante de mais de 1.300 livros, por enquanto, publicados por ele desde 94 até os dias de hoje, quando começou a publicar fotografia, e que deve continuar aumentando conforme as novas publicações vão chegando. Como muitos de vocês devem saber, como o Thiago falou também, a Steidl é uma das principais editoras de fotografia do mundo e também talvez responsável por um salto qualitativo que essas publicações de fotografia tiveram dos anos 90 para cá. É um catálogo que mostra uma vontade importante de registrar uma história da fotografia. Cada livro é feito em parceria muito grande com os artistas, então, para a gente que gosta de livro, que gosta de fotografia, é realmente um privilégio ter essa coleção aqui. Então, eu quero, de novo, agradecer ao Gerhard pela doação generosa, que também consolida uma parceria de muitos anos, sobre a qual o Sérgio vai falar um pouquinho também aqui. Tá bom? Obrigado e bem-vindos todos aqui ao MS Paulista, e depois venham conhecer a biblioteca lá embaixo também. Bom, obrigado.
Para mim e para todas as atividades, acho, do Instituto na fotografia, talvez o mais importante seja rapidamente mencionar um processo, que é um processo que eu acho que no campo das artes é fundamental, quer dizer, que é o processo, além dos processos institucionais, os processos pessoais, né, a forma como as relações vão se construindo. Essa aproximação com Gerhard Steidl é fruto de, obviamente, um interesse muito grande das atividades que o Instituto realiza, da grande preocupação do Instituto também com a impressão, com a qualidade de impressão, com a publicação de livros de qualidade, mas ela se dá também por um projeto do Instituto de trazer a obra de importantes fotógrafos também estrangeiros para o Instituto, e particularmente o Instituto fez uma retrospectiva de Robert Polidori, fotógrafo canadense, bastante relevante no cenário também da fotografia internacional, e alguém que há muitos anos edita seus livros com Steidl. E desse projeto com Polidori surgiu uma aproximação também com Steidl mais pessoal, mais direta. Ele nos visitou, acho que em 2011, no Rio de Janeiro, rapidamente, uma primeira vez. E o Instituto realizou em 2015 um importante projeto que foi comemorar os 450 anos do Rio de Janeiro, editando a obra de Marco Ferreira sobre o Rio, e, ao mesmo tempo, editando um livro do Robert Polidori sobre o Rio de Janeiro, quer dizer, um fotógrafo que tem características de trabalhar com grande formato, com filme, né? E esses dois livros, na verdade, se transformaram num projeto editorial em conjunto com Steidl, que foi uma publicação de mais de 2.000 exemplares em caixa, distribuídos internacionalmente em inglês, e cerca de 10.000 itens entre Ferrez, aqui no Brasil, e Polidori, os quais, nesses 2 anos e pouco, praticamente se esgotaram totalmente. Foi a edição em português. Então, esse foi um projeto conjunto, acolhido por Steidl de uma maneira muito generosa, com prazo relativamente curto, e que nos levou, nós da fotografia, Joana Americano, Mariana Newlands, para quase 3 semanas em Göttingen, trabalhando na finalização desses livros, né? Então, eu acho que esse é um processo importante, quer dizer, entre artistas, instituição, editor, né? E isso se desdobrou, obviamente, nesse projeto atual da exposição Robert Frank, os americanos e os livros e os filmes, projeto que Gerhard Steidl desenvolveu com Robert Frank, né, os livros e os filmes, do qual ontem nós tivemos a oportunidade de percorrer na exposição, né? E que ele, então, como curador, trabalhando conosco, com Samuel Titã, comigo, né, pudemos montar esse projeto, e que, ao mesmo tempo, se transformou também com essa decisão que ele tomou de fazer essa doação para a Biblioteca do Instituto de toda a sua produção. É de fato, para nós, algo muito importante, e é importante internacionalmente, porque é uma editora de expressão. Essa coleção, como todas as outras que estão aqui, tem um significado enorme para todos nós aqui, e representa, de fato, também, né, quer dizer, não só aqui no Brasil, mas internacionalmente, uma relação que tem exatamente uma continuidade projetada à frente pela continuada chegada dos livros anualmente que Steidl edita, e, ao mesmo tempo, por projetos que nós faremos à frente, né? Nós temos um projeto sobre Marcel Gautreau, já pensado e definido para uma publicação também para daqui a 2 anos, que seja bastante profunda sobre a obra dele, e que vai ser também uma oportunidade de distribuir internacionalmente a obra do Gautreau, que é conhecida, mas que ainda tem um percurso grande, né, a percorrer. Então, era isso que eu queria mencionar o livro do Ferrez, do Polidori, mencionar a edição em português dos americanos, né, quer dizer, são itens de uma parceria já em andamento, e que a gente espera que possa também ser continuada, né? E, ao mesmo tempo, o Instituto tem inúmeras publicações, né, que edita diretamente as suas revistas, e eu acho que isso nos aproxima do ponto de vista também da preocupação e da vontade, da beleza e do interesse com a fotografia impressa e com o papel que isso tem na cultura, né? Então, queria mais uma vez agradecer a Steidl por essa parceria permanente, essa doação, enfim, e muito obrigado. E pedir ao Gerhard que fale um pouquinho conosco, logo antes da palestra dele, sobre exatamente essa colaboração com a biblioteca e essa doação.
Oh, the I had always the dream that all the Steidl books are together at several places in the world for younger people to study how book publishing or photography book publishing could be. It was beginning in 1993, where I did my first visual book with Karl Lagerfeld called Off the Record. Before I had experience, of course, in publishing books of literature, fiction and non-fiction, but for the visual book production I was fit just in 1993. And the first program was presented as a hardcover book, and all of our book catalogs, spring and fall, winter season, are made as a kind of document of book publishing. And for the moment I'm building up a little network of Steidl books all around the globe. There is a complete Steidl library in Singapore, one is in Germany, in Dresden, one is here in Sao Paulo, and the next one will be at the New York Public Library in New York, and then we see what's going on. And of course these libraries will be updated by the new production and be completed as long as I'm publishing, printing and living.
Long live to your publishing and printing. So thank you very much, Gerhard.
É isso, vamos dar início à palestra O Impresso Não Morreu, a beleza da mídia analógica no mundo digital, com Gerhard Steidl. Obrigado.
So I have prepared for you a lecture with the title Print is Not Dead, the Beauty of Analog Media in a Digital World. And it's not an academic speech, it is more a small talk about paper, printing, books, photography, and everything what is connected with these items. Followed by questions and answers, if you are interested, after my lecture. First of all, I would like to give you an overview of what I will be talking about today. To start with, I will share some thoughts on the potential and limits of analog and digital worlds. Second, I will talk about the differences between printed books and electronic books. Third, I will name Johannes Gutenberg as my role model. And finally, I will briefly describe how Steidl books are made. The potential and limits of the analog and digital worlds. A few years ago, it was said that as a publisher of books made of paper and ink, I was a dying species. Everyone was talking about the death of the physical book and of the glorious emergence of the digital world with its universal accessibility and potential. Publishing books on the internet has, of course, its advantages. It saves resources because almost no physical materials are required. It spares library shelves from a surplus of publications that no one needs. For many types of content, the internet is the perfect medium. But there are many forms of content which should not be allowed to drawn into the depth of the internet. For such content, the perfect medium was developed hundreds of years ago already, the book. The printed book, which can be found in a private and public library, which cannot be manipulated or switched off, and which conserves human memory for future generations. Analog versus digital, the question is not one of paper versus computer, not of the old-fashioned versus the contemporary. The question is really one of politics. At the moment, a kind of industrial revolution is taking place. Old production processes are disappearing and new processes are coming into play. This is not surprisingly the normal course of events throughout history, although it's by no means a natural process. It's a process controlled by the interests of industry, the same process that has already determined the fates of the vinyl record and the photographic film. The aggressive industry of hardware and software will always develop and sell new products. These people are not concerned with art, literature, or music at all, but with developing tools and positioning them in the marketplace so that consumers think they can't live without them. It's all about market share and profit. All of this is, of course, nothing new to you. And I don't want to waste any more time by preaching on the strategies of digital corporations. Instead, I want to share my experiences of someone who continues to produce books in the traditional manner and who sees himself as in no way old school. I'm talking to you as a follower of Gutenberg, a man who treasured the materiality of the book object. I'm here today because I see the printed book as much more than an old-fashioned hard drive. In Germany, we have the saying, Papier ist geduldig, paper is patient. Paper begins its life in a pure, unmarked state. Once it is printed, it carries that information forever. This information documents the state of knowledge or an aesthetic position at a particular point of time. Such information cannot be deleted or overwritten. A printed book can also be saved easily, simply by placing it on a bookshelf. There it never requires any new form of energy. Perhaps it might fall off the shelf, but it never crashes like a computer can. You can always return to the book exactly as it was produced. Even when a book is destroyed, the information it contains lives on in one of the many other copies around the globe, which are available in other bookstores and book libraries. I love the fact that I have command over the medium of the book, not the other way around. The printed book, placed within the community, in the library, is for me the perfect open access system. And yet today many see it as a hassle to have to physically go to the location where a book is situated. Scanning books and displaying their content online has become an easy promise and one that people take for granted. But text is never simply published online. Specialized companies undertake this task and invoice thousands of dollars for their services. And so-called free access to books on the internet, in fact, it generates considerable cost, not for the ongoing updates of hard and software only, but for handling. Anyone who has had to set up and maintain a digital archive will know this. The digital dream is by no means perfect. Its possibilities might seem endless, but the net is in fact rented, and rent conditions can easily change or be terminated. Whoever can't pay has to go. A digital book can be produced quickly, sold and consumed, but it can be used but it can be just as easily lost if we abandon the payment systems dictated by the digital industry. A printed book, in contrast, remains as it was at the time of its creation. Even after 100 years, the original version of Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn sits unchanged in a bookshelf. Paper makes information and debates transparent over time. Paper not only has storage place, but more importantly, it has a memory. Occasionally, when you turn on a computer, it asks you to be patient for a moment while it updates itself, meaning it makes an undefined number of operations to its hard and software. Exactly what it doesn't say, and the computer doesn't tell you either. Yet, once it is all over, we are somehow pleased that everything went so well and we weren't called on to do anything ourselves. But you don't need to be an expert to find the whole process and our blind acceptance to it a little bit uncomfortable and obscure. Now, I didn't become a printer from fear of losing control. For me, paper is not a bothersome necessity, but an experience in itself. Paper has a scent. Paper has an aura. Books are beautiful. And the beauty of a book is part of its message. One needs time, energy, and I think a little bit of courage to defend culture and knowledge against the ideology of quick digital consumption. Books and quality, the printed book and the electronic book. When talking about printed and electronic books, we need to be clear on the differences between them and their distinct purposes. A medium that has been designed to be consumed quickly requires no great investment in its production. Why, for example, should crime novels still be produced as paperback books for us to read on holidays and then throw away afterwards? Everyone must decide for themselves in which medium they want to read. If someone really wants to read 30 books during the holidays, then an e-book reader makes the most sense. If someone with poor eyesight needs a larger font to read, then again, an e-book reader is a good choice. But the printed book is not the vinyl record of the publishing world. It has not become a niche product. In fact, it has remained the medium of choice for the majority. The sales share of e-books in Germany, in the German book market, is currently at about 5%. This isn't much when you think that people have been forecasting the death of the printed book for at least a decade. Now, I don't want to pretend to be an expert on e-books, particularly when it's obvious that I'm a passionate supporter of the printed book. But I still follow the development of the e-book, especially in its relationship to the traditional book. What interests me is this: does the e-book really mean the death of the printed book? And if not, why not? Another example. When you think about it, the market of printed editions of classic literature should probably have already disappeared by now. These old texts are free of copyright, there are no royalties to be paid, and for this reason you can find today all the important classics on the internet, either to scroll through or download. It would be stupid for publishers to still invest in paper editions of this book. And yet, this is exactly what they continue to do. The market for printed classics is extremely healthy, and German publishers are more committed than ever to commissioning new translations of the classics. As an advocate of the good old book, I'm also a dedicated fan of the classic brick and mortar bookshop, as long as I find within it an informed bookseller with a serious opinion on literature and a thoughtful, curated selection of books for sale. Many said that the traditional bookshop was about to disappear and that the German bookshop networks would collapse just like in the USA. But this has not happened. The specialized bookshop cannot be replaced by a set of algorithms. Without ignoring the undeniable pressure which Amazon's and tools like the Kindle exert on the book market, the traditional bookshop will continue to exist alongside the printed book. Yet both must also continue to independently justify their existence. To create a good book means not only having great content. It means using the entire know-how developed by the publishing industry over centuries. Careful editing, an aesthetic concept, first-class typography, the finest, most durable papers, top printing quality, excellent binding materials, perfectly crafted book binding. Publishers who no longer possesses such know-how or chose not to use it because it's too expensive will definitely lose out to their self-made competitors of the digital world. Many publishers will disappear in the years to come if their books continue to lack good content and they have not the passion for the book as an aesthetic object. At the same time, we are enjoying today a renaissance of wonderfully made books. Many readers are indeed more than just users. They see in the physical book more than simply a source of information or entertainment. A high-quality book is of personal significance to them. These readers are, of course, not part of the mass market, but such books are a fantastic field in which young, engaged publishers, designers, printers, and bookbinders can make their mark. Johannes Gutenberg, my role model. With the invention of book printing in 1450, Johannes Gutenberg not only revolutionized book production, but also reading and the distribution of knowledge. In contrast to the time-consuming process of writing books by hand, the printed book was relatively affordable and accessible. Yet Gutenberg is above all my role model because he realized the potential of his invention within a sound business model which he controlled. He understood that content, art, and technology are all connected, and he invented a marketing concept to combine them all. First, in terms of content, Gutenberg's idea was to make the Bible more accessible. Second, in artistic terms, he personally designed his Bible. Third, in technology terms, he invented printing with movable letters in order to reduce costs and production time. And on top of all this, Gutenberg was a clever businessman. He bound and sold the printed sheets on demand, only after an order had been placed. Gutenberg's business model was basically this. Everything was under his control, everything was under one roof. He personally executed conception, typography, illustration, printing, binding, as well as the sales of his books. This approach proved successfully for many years. Indeed, only a few hundred meters from my publishing house in Göttingen, a publisher called Dietrich, worked in just this way in the 19th century. In his house, the books were designed and printed. The distribution was organized, and on top in the attic, on top of the building in the attic, lived the author Georg Christoph Lichtenberg, who wrote the books that were produced just a few floors below. Only later did this publishing model collapse, and the different activities were then outsourced and into separate businesses. Essentially, I have copied Gutenberg's concept and that of Dietrich and given it new life in my publishing house. I have turned back the wheel of time. Instead of outsourcing, I have brought all activities back into my own personal sphere. And now, how to make a book with Steidl, and here's how a normal day at Steidl looks. When I decide to make a book with an artist, I must confess that it's firstly about self-interest. I want to better understand the artist and his or her work. This was just the case when I began to work with Joseph Beuys as a 22-year-old boy. I wanted to understand him and his work so that I could print as well as possible for him. And so I asked him endless questions, and he answered them patiently. For example, he explained to me what a color space is using Goethe's color theory. I remember once apologizing for asking so many stupid questions, and Beuys' response was, "Don't worry about it. Every revolution begins with stupid questions." To make a book with Steidl is almost always the same ritual for each artist who chooses to jump on board of my submarine. I say submarine because I love the idea that an artist comes to Göttingen. We first discuss what's to be done, and then we go on board, close the hatch, and dive into the deep blue bookmaking sea, unreachable by the outside world. After a week, we then resurface. Our mission is complete, and the concept of the book is done. A normal work day for me looks like this. I get up at 4:45 in the morning, woken up not by an alarm clock, but by the excitement of the things to be done that certain day. I start working at 5:15 a.m. I love to draw and sketch in the morning, mapping out ideas which my colleagues later on realize on their computer screens. The only thing to distract me early in the morning might be a handwritten fax which tumbles out of my old-fashioned fax machine from Karl Lagerfeld. He starts even earlier than I do. Whenever I don't immediately reply with comments on his ideas, I receive a quick reminder fax with the words, "Please comment." At 6 a.m., there's a shift change on press. We work 24 hours all around the clock. I'm always there for the beginning of the day's 3 shifts to instruct the printers of the work to be done. From 8 a.m., the different members of my orchestra, as I like to call it, begin to arrive. Typographers, designers, image editors, technicians, drivers, marketing and press officers, editors, exhibition coordinators, accountants. I try to conduct them all so that we create an harmonious symphony together. From 9 a.m. the artists arrive. In most publishing houses, the artist is only present for an initial discussion with the director in the boardroom and perhaps for a lunch or dinner. At Steidl, however, the artist or author is involved in every step of the production of his or her book. For that reason, they are happy to sometimes wait for me endless hours. We always meet in the library, right at the top of the publishing house. My first question is with no doubt, what is your vision of your book? We then discuss the layout, test out ideas, and begin with the text and image corrections before making a test print of the book. For me, test printing is the most wonderful experience. To stand at our big printing press without any time pressure and to play with different kinds of paper and ink. Test printing is crucial. It's the only way to investigate different papers and the effects of various inks, and to discover new ideas through experimentation. Standards, industrial standards and norms have been becoming the death of fine art printing and the printed book. The great thing about modern book printing today is specialized printing process like duotone, tritone or quadrotone for black and white printing, or four-color process printing with a skeleton black and a matte varnish. I often allow myself the luxury of test printing the entire book to really be able to calibrate the different printing forms. Choosing all the different binding materials is also great fun. I call this shopping for books. Here's it all about finding the perfect cover materials such as linen, paper for the dust jacket, binding cardboard and papers, the headband and bookmark, as well as the color for the foil of the embossing on the front of the book. The quality of the various ingredients is just as important as in haute cuisine. You need the best products to create the best meal. After that, we order the paper for the full print run. When it arrives at our warehouse, the paper is firstly left to rest and brought to the ideal temperature and humidity, just like one leaves a good steak to hang. Papers in most publishing houses are unfortunately brought directly from the truck onto the printing press, glowing hot in summer and ice cold in winter. Whenever you come across a bent or deformed book, now you know what it costed. Having everything under one roof, like at Steidl, means one can control and connect all steps of the production processes. And this is sadly not the normal work process of many publishing houses today, which looks more like this. Managers and heads of departments make decisions to save money at all costs. The book design is done in Spain, the image retouching is made in India, while the book is printed and bound in China. With a bit of luck, an average book is the result, but often it's a bitter disappointment for both the artist and the reader. Steidl books are distributed worldwide, but they are all produced and printed at Düsterstraße 4 in Göttingen, Germany. And there's one person, Gerhard Steidl, who has his hand in all steps of the bookmaking process. This is also something I've been lucky enough to learn from Karl Lagerfeld. Every garment which he designs for Chanel Haute Couture is constructed and highly trained craftspeople at 31 Rue Cambon at Paris have manufactured it. Lagerfeld sketches each garment, chooses the fabrics and other materials, and oversees the sewing and fittings. And then he presents each garment at a fashion show, also of his own creation. I like to think about the Frankfurt Book Fair as my own little fashion show. Now, after a full day, evening has finally arrived at Steidl. Once again, I'm by myself in the publishing house with no distractions, and my greatest luxury is to have a few hours completely to myself without having to talk, just tidying up and preparing things for the next day of work. Just before 10 p.m., I go down to press once more to instruct the printers on the particulars awaiting them in the night shift. After that, I'm back home in just a minute or two, as I live only 50 meters away from my publishing house. At night, I always read the paper, drink a glass of red wine, and I'm in bed by 11. I need 5.5 hours of sleep to be fit for the next day. 6 hours are better. Sometimes I need to sleep in a plane or car, as I travel often too. So now that you have gotten to know me as a seriously analog person, it's no doubt clear to you that you won't ever catch me doing a video conference or Skyping, because such processes don't allow you to smell paper or to touch binding materials. The death of the analog would be the death of the good old book, but print is not dead. Thank you. So now we have time, if you want, for some questions, and I will give to you serious answers if I can. Yeah.
Alô. Oi. Primeiro, eu queria agradecer. É um momento bem importante para mim. Estou emocionada de te conhecer pessoalmente. E, para mim, eu acho que a coisa que mais me assusta não é o livro digital, e sim o fim da impressão offset. Por tudo que eu vi do seu vídeo e te ouvindo falando, o processo é tão importante para você e você é tão apaixonado pelo processo quanto pela edição do livro, ou seja, pelo processo de impressão offset, que é o que se usa na gráfica, na Steidl. E na última feira da Alemanha, na Drupa, eu percebi uma grande mudança de paradigma na impressão, meio a Heidelberg, por exemplo, tendo uma parceria com a Fuji, se unindo para fazer impressão digital, assim como a Índigo e a Landa, que é o lançamento do Beni Landa. Então, acho que para mim é mais assustador isso, porque eu ainda acho que a impressão digital não chega aos pés da impressão offset. Então, eu queria entender como você vê essa mudança de paradigmas e como você vê isso sendo apaixonado pelo processo offset. E é uma honra. Obrigada. Estou muito feliz.
Thank you. So, in the 1970s, the wonderful printing technology of gravure was going to die, and all the printing machines worldwide had been destroyed because to prepare the printing forms from copper plates and the entire process was not effective. And the constructors of printing presses and the printing industry were setting their focus 100% onto offset. And when the first offset machines were going into production in the 1960s, the printed results were really a shit compared with what was before, letterset printing and gravure printing. So blacks did not exist. It was almost ash gray, there was no color saturation, the papers had been bad, there was not really a know-how in the printing companies how to use the equipment. They were always running too much water, and that has the effect that the inks get no density on the colors. And it was a hard fight over 30, 40 years to get the offset technology onto the peak as we have it by today. When I started publishing in 1970, my interest was not at all to do the printing by myself. But I was so frustrated when I went to printing companies and they gave to them the work order, and I saw the results at the end. With no passion, with no love, and with no aesthetical background, they were just running it through as fast as possible and to write the invoice after that. And it was really a pain for me to pay good money for this unbelievable bad printed results. And so I started to learn printing processes, and I did the stuff by myself. Indeed, by today we can say that the offset printing technology is on its peak. So companies, the manufacturers of offset presses, Heidelberg and Emma and Roland and KBA, they are all based in Germany. They have really a strong decline of their sales. Heidelberger, for example, 10 years ago, there were 20,000 people. By now, there are 8,000. Emma and Roland has 6,800 people. By today, 600 people are working there. And they sell only maybe 100 presses a year worldwide. And most of them are in production for cardboard printing, so for the packaging industry. That is something which still makes profit. But printing books and printing advertisements and so on is not a business model anymore. So we can definitely say that offset printing is coming to an end. There's no way, and I'm absolutely not nostalgic. Old technologies go away, and new printings and new technologies are to come. For example, as in Germany, we are worldwide the leading manufacturers of cars. The car industry has the same problem. I believe in 20 years, 25 years, there are no oil-based engines anymore in the cars. All will move to electricity and new technologies, and we will not be nostalgic. We will have better air to breathe, and a new generation will develop the cars to aesthetical and good products so that we can move around. And the same is, I believe, with the printing industry. It needs just creativity to work with the new tools. For the moment, I would not accept the quality of digital printing. Just one example, a serious black and white printing with digital presses is almost impossible, because it is all created from the 4-color process, and if the printer is not taking care for his equipment seriously, you know, the black and white looks pinkish, too much magenta, or it looks greenish, too much cyan and yellow. You have all seen this this bad results, and it is really a bitter disappointment for artists, for photographers, to see the black and white photography like this. And of course, duotone or tritone printing, as I'm doing it on an offset press, is the better result. But I met 2 or 3 months ago, I met a young man. He studied polygraphic techniques, so printing techniques, in Warsaw in Poland, and 25 years old. And he bought second-hand a digital printing press, an Indigo, and he manipulated it by himself to do to a quadrotone printing press for black and white, and it's pretty good. Yeah, so it needs just creativity to accept the new technologies and then to manipulate them individually to the needs you have. So it will take some time, but don't worry. In 20, 30, 50 years, there will be printed books and printed matters which are as good as by today.
Olá, boa tarde. Eu tenho duas perguntas. Eu queria saber se, nos últimos 10, 15 anos, se você viu a criação de alguma editora de fotolivros mais recente que você acompanhe, que você gosta, não só na qualidade de impressão, mas também na seleção dos fotógrafos. E a segunda pergunta é sobre, aí sim, sobre o seu trabalho. Você, como homem perfeccionista, acredito que você ainda veja alguns defeitos na sua própria editora. Quais são os defeitos da Steidl que ainda existem?
Yeah. If I can recommend a publishing house, I would say it is Mac in London. They are really doing very good books, and they are well edited, and there are not many others, but no rule without exception. You know, there is a publishing house which produces 15 books a year, and 12 of them have not really high quality, but 3 of them are very good. So buy just the 3 books which are good and forget about the others. The techniques at Steidl or at any other printing company, of course, they are existing. And I remember 10, 15 years ago, every book was a hard fight, and we were dealing all the day from the morning to the evening with technical problems because there was not so much know-how around as by today, and also the equipment was not as good. I try to avoid technical problems, but if they happened, the Russians say, they have the saying, I'm spying into my soul. So that means forget about everything, throw away and start from zero. If it would happen every day, we will be bankrupt. Yeah? But it happens maybe one time a year or every 2 years. But then you have to be honest and start from zero if it is not good. Better than to deliver a bad book into the world. Because I see a book always as a final developed product which should not be changed in the 2nd or 3rd edition. I hate to do this, so it should be perfect from the 1st edition right away.
First of all, I think it's very interesting not to be nostalgic, because we, many years ago, were weaned on Skeeter books. Now people use the computer. But what I wanted to ask you like this. Many years ago, there was a Swiss publisher here called Brunner, and he made a Brazilian scale of color. And I wonder, for instance, when you get people who have photographs from Alaska and people who have photographs from Guatemala, is it possible to work without changing the scale?
No. At the beginning of my career as a printer for photography, I think it was in 1994, I was printing a book for a Swiss publishing house, Scalo, and it was a photographer it was a Swiss photographer, I think his name was Meyer, and he has photographed in Alaska. It was coming immediately into my mind, snow, trees, and landscape, and hills and whatever there was. And so he had slides, Ektachromes, and we were scanning them. So I had just bought the first scan equipment, I think it was in 1993, and we had really not a big experience. So he showed this, and Photoshop was just coming up, up to 1993, 1994, all corrections of scans, color corrections, has to be done by hand, by etching films. So this photographer explained to me by looking to his slides, okay, look at this slide, you see the snow is looking blue, but my memory was, or my memory is that the snow is pinkish and reddish because it was it was a very nice sunset, and the reflection of the snow makes it. So scan it, but correct it in the way as I have seen it, not as my Ektachrome was showing it. And I got really a heart attack. Yeah? And from this moment, I learned that everything what you do in printing or photography is subjective. So if I'm a printer of fine art and I have to reproduce a painting of Van Gogh, I have no space for interpretation. So the yellow of the sunflowers must be exactly the same as in the painting. And if I want really to do a good job, I go to the museum, look by myself, what is the color of the sunflower, and I don't trust the photo of the photographer who did the reproduction. But for example, with black and white photography and color photography or photographers, you have the same interpretation space as the photographer itself in the darkroom. So when you go into the darkroom, you have your negative, you make your text charts, and you make it darker, you make high key contrast and whatever. And in Photoshop, it is just the same. Photoshop is not a mysterious thing, so just software developers have translated the darkroom work one-to-one into software. And Photoshop is a very good tool, but someone who has experience in the darkroom can much better work in Photoshop or with Photoshop than someone who has not this experience. And so the interpretation of a photo is one thing I'm doing really every day when I work with photographers to do our books. And at a certain point, we always forget about the original photo. What is the original photo? It's a negative which is processed in the right way, or it is overexposed or underexposed. The same with digital photography. No digital photo is really a perfection. You have to process it and to make out of it a good print which is presented in an exhibition or which is presented in a book. That is hard work to do.
Vou fazer em português. Eu queria te fazer uma pergunta que é o seguinte: você, obviamente, deve receber centenas de projetos de pessoas querendo publicar livros, de fotógrafos, de curadores, de museus, de todo tipo, e também fazendo todas as viagens que você faz, deve encontrar uma série de trabalhos que você gostaria que virassem livros. Queria te pedir para explicar um pouco como é que você estabelece critérios para Steidl, que tipo de linhas mestras e como é que você decide, afinal, o que você vai publicar, no que você vai investir nos próximos anos, considerando que, obviamente, você não consegue dar conta de uma produção que é muito maior do que a própria editora.
Yeah. The one criteria is, of course, the limitations of our production. So, for example, for the moment, we can do roughly 130, 170 visual books a year, and that is absolutely the maximum. I would like to do less and to have more time for the special book, so I do not want to go on to higher numbers. Of course, we could make the decision to set up a second press and to double the operations and to hire more people, but I don't want that. I saw my business always as a small and a boutique business. It is not an industry. So I have to respect that I can do only a certain number of books per year, even if I'm interested to do more. But more important, to give to you an answer to your question about the content of the book, so the intellectual material, I'm always praying the fact that publishers, printers, and so on, everybody who's working in the polygraphic industry has to respect that the artist is the work giver. So without an intellectual input, without having a good text, a writing, a novel, a poem, a drawing, a photo, we had nothing to print. So we could close our company. Of course, I'm looking at first always for high quality content. And I select the books I'm going to publish. Thanks God, I'm the owner of my company, and I have no board, and I have not to make any discussions, and I have no financial supervisors who tell me what I have to do and what I have not to do. I decide by myself, and I am making my decision for those books, and it doesn't matter if it is literature, a novel, or a book with poems, or a photography book, when it delivers to me new information or aesthetically information. So when I start making a book and work with a certain artist, I feel myself always like a student who wants to learn and to understand what about the certain body of work. And by learning, we are doing the book, and the artist is interested to give to me all the information I need, because when I'm educated, I can do a better job than by being stupid. And this interest in new and exciting things is the engine for me. Very often, you know, in every publishing house it happens, and in the record industry and in the movie industry, you have something what is successful and makes $1 million. You are working to get a follow-up, yeah. So something which is different, but people think, okay, that has the same quality as the one before, so I go into the cinema, I buy this book, I buy or download this certain song to listen to it. Very often, if a follow-up is offered to me by an artist, I just say no, because it delivers not to me new information. Okay, it would be an easy promise to make money, yeah? But that's not while I'm working. So I have the luxury that I earn money with working for the fashion industry, and my biggest luxury is to blow the money which I'm earning with fashion, to blow it away with my books. So others are buying a Porsche car, I'm making a book.
Já que não tem nenhuma, queria fazer mais uma pergunta. Que acho que para quem edita livros e revistas e publicações no Brasil, longe dos maiores mercados da América e dos Estados Unidos, um grande gargalo da produção não é editar, não é publicar, imprimir, mas é de fazer a distribuição dos livros. Queria só que se você puder comentar um pouco como é que você vê esse mercado de distribuição, se há alguma grande transformação, e se você envisiona para ele, como se diz, se você almeja, se você vê uma possibilidade de se organizar em novas redes para que a gente consiga fazer com que os livros circulem melhor e de outras maneiras.
Yeah, the distribution of books is really for every publisher a big problem. I had some good luck to build up an effective network, and luckily enough our books are selling very well, so the wholesalers all around the world and bookstores, they make money with our books, so we are on top of the list of their distributed publishing houses. But others who are doing just 2 or 3 books with a low number of copies, they have really big problems. And it is hard for them to come into the wide distribution market. Just an example, 20 years ago, I sold 80% of my books in Germany. By today, we are selling approximately 60% of our book production where? In Hong Kong. Because Hong Kong is the hub for the Asian market, yeah, and the Asian market is growing and exploding, and for books and for visual books, yeah, and so if I can give an advice to Brazilian publishers, I would build up an effective web shop, a digital platform with a lot of information about culture, the photographic scene, the book scene in the certain countries. So in Brazil, deliver every day new information around the globe, invest into digital information platform connected with an online bookshop. I have done this, and we are for the moment we are installing a kind of newsroom like a serious political newspaper where 10 people will work just to get together information about the book publishing and photography scene and deliver it to the consumers, I have to say. And the business model connected with it is that we have made very good contracts with UPS, so our freight rates are extremely low all around the globe, and we can offer to all of our customers worldwide to buy a book at the Steidl bookshop at the same price as they buy it in a bookstore, and we deliver free of any transportation charges to their home. Of course, I support all independent bookstores. I do not have to support Amazon and the giants of the book distribution market, but we support individual bookstores owned by private persons. I was 2 days ago in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, for the opening of the book fair, and in the city center of Ljubljana there is a woman who owns a bookstore and a gallery for photography, and she sells almost nothing, but we deliver all the books we have to them with a bigger discount, and when she cannot pay the invoice, okay, we give her another month or another year. Just that in Slovenia is one bookstore which is equipped with very good books, and which is operated by a curator, by this woman who has the know-how to do it. But as when we started with this question and answer, we talked about the peak of offset printing by today and the end of offset printing and new printing technologies. It is the same with distribution. So we have to forget about everybody who sells goods, it doesn't matter what it is, have to forget about old distribution networks and to set up new ones. That's a key for book publishers too.
Só agradecer ao Steidl pela palestra, pela conversa, convidar todos às 2 da tarde para uma conversa mais informal lá na biblioteca, então sobre todas as histórias dos livros, e depois às 4 para conversar com os editores brasileiros. Então, muito obrigado, Steidl, obrigado a todos e bom dia.
Thank you very much. Thank you.